Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss how to handle hidden elements in Selenium. So handling hidden elements in Selenium can be challenging because Selenium interacts with elements that are only visible on the web page, right? So if an element is hidden, that is, if it is outside the visible viewport, or if the element is overlaid by any other element, then Selenium won't be able to interact with it directly, like using standard commands like click, send keys, like that, right? So in that case, how do we handle those hidden elements? So there are some strategies to handle those elements. So we'll see that in this session, right? For example, this is a toggle hide and show. So just assume, you don't have this text area, text box. Click the button, right? So once you click on this, this is not visible, right? So assume that is our hidden element, and we wanted to interact with that hidden element. So how do we actually interact with that hidden element? It is not present on the web page, right? So we wanted to interact with that hidden element, and also we wanted to pass some text here. It says click the button, right? So we wanted to change this text. So first of all, it is not even visible on the web page. So what we need to do in order to use the Selenium commands, we need to first make that element visible on the web page. Then we should be able to interact with that element. So how do we do that? So definitely the element is not even visible on this web page, so we can't interact with Selenium. So there has to be some other way. So what's the other way is, so let's inspect this element first. So if you see here in the dev tools, so if you hover on this button, toggle hide, yeah, this is the button. And you can see, yeah, we can even see this. So this is the div ID equal to my div, right? Click the button. This is here, right? And you can see the style here, display colon block, right? So this is the actual code, which is the corresponding code for this text box, right? Now, say for example, I click on this toggle, so it is not there. So if you observe here, it is still there. So that is the CSS property or the HTML code is still there. The element might not be there on the web page, but the code is still there, and you can see this code is actually driving this element. And if you observe closely, the property style equal to display equal to none. So display equal to none is what made the actual text box, right? So text box or input field hidden, right? Now, how do we get back that? So we can actually do, so we can modify the property, this display none to block. See, if I do this, we get back the text box here, right? So that is how we need to actually get back the hidden element first. Then once it is visible on the web page, right? Then we can actually interact with the web element like using the Selenium driver commands. So, but how do we actually make this modify the CSS property in the HTML code? We can't definitely do that with the Selenium, right? So in that case, we will use something called JavaScript executor to modify the CSS property and make the element visible on the web page first, and then we'll interact with the web element. So let's do that. I already have this, have the code for this written. So let me explain the code. So if we observe here, we do have like a web driver instantiated to Chrome driver, so which launches up my Chrome browser. We are maximizing the window, and then we have an implicit wait of default 10 seconds, navigating to the URL, and this is the toggle button, which we click. We do a single click to make the element hidden, right? So once we click on it, we saw that, right? So once we click on this, the element becomes hidden, right? So this is our use case till here. Now we'll wait for some time. We'll see that the element is not visible on the web page. Now, how do we handle it? So we said like we wanted to get back the element, first hidden element. So using the web element of that element, right? So the actual web element. So we'll capture that into a web element object, and then we need to make that element first visible on the web page. So how do we make that visible? So using Selenium WebDriver command, we can't do that, right? Because we need to modify the CSS property. So for that, what we'll do is we'll actually create a object for script JavaScript executor. JavaScript executor driver. We'll assign driver to it, WebDriver to it. So we need to typecast it to JavaScript executor, right? So this is what we do. Now we get the JavaScript executor object. So using this, we actually call a method called execute script, and execute script of arguments of 0 dot style dot display. What is the display? Display equal to block. It will be none. So we are modifying it to block. And then make sure you will have the semicolon, which is a delimiter for the statement, right? So, all right, now this hidden element has to be passed as the argument because we said arguments of 0, right? So that what is the argument? We need to pass it here. So this hidden element dot style. So modify the style of this hidden element. What is the property? Display. So modify it to block is what we are seeing. That's the meaning of this code. So it will be display equal to none. We are modifying it to block. And this change is only temporary. So until you refresh that page, it won't actually affect the actual backend code, but it's just temporary. So temporarily, we are actually modifying some CSS property of the web element. So that the element will be visible on the web page. So once it is visible, then what we can do, we can add some wait time here so that we can actually view it. I will wait for 2 seconds, and then again using execute script, we can actually, if you wanted to modify some text, right? So how we can actually modify it? So it's a text box. So we wanted to modify the text dot inner text equal to, we can write our own statement here, whatever you wanted. I'll just say this is a newly set text. And that's this is a hidden element, right? So always we need to pass this because we are saying arguments of 0, right? So we have to specify what that argument is. We are working on this element, hidden element. So we have to pass that as a second argument, right? So this is how we can actually interact with the hidden element. Like what did we do here? Till here, it's like a normal code. Like we just clicked on the toggle button to make the element invisible. So just for the demo, we are doing this. So in reality, you will actually see the element hidden. And our code actually starts from here, right? So you'll actually get the hidden element code here. And then you will get the JavaScript executor object. And then we'll write the method, execute script method to make the style display equal to block. In some cases, it will be visible, visibility hidden even, right? So in some cases, it will be like visibility hidden, like, we saw display none, right? And how did we modify that? We modified it to display block so that it is, this makes it hidden. And actually, this this code makes it visible, right? So in the same way, like you will even have the something like this, visibility hidden is hidden, right? And visibility visible is actually makes it visible on the web page. So you have to remember this. So in some cases, this will even be like this. So display none will be hidden. Then we'll modify it to display block. In some cases, it will be visibility hidden. So we'll make it visibility visible like this. We'll modify it so that the element will be visible on the web page. All right. So in our case, it was display none, right? So we modified it to display block. And then what did we do? So the element is visible now on the web page. So we are interacting with the element, like we are passing the inner text to it. Because if you observe, we can't actually, it's a div one, right? So it's not an input to use the send key. So we can't use send key. So I'm using the same JavaScript to pass the inner text to it. So let's execute this and verify. So as an example, we have took this like to make the element, the already existing element which is visible, we made it hidden, and then we started the code to make it visible first on the web page, and then we interacted with the element. See, once the URL is navigated, so you will see the element actually, but our use case starts with hiding the element, right? So assume the element is hidden. So in order to just simulate that, we are clicking on that button, toggle hide and show. Yeah, the button is hidden now. So how do you interact with that element? Yeah. So we use JavaScript executor to make that visible, and also we passed a new text to it. So you can see this is newly set text, right? So this is how you actually interact with the hidden elements in Selenium. There could be some other elements, some other example, like in the drop downs also, like say for example, if you take some drop down where the options will be like there could be multiple options where it will actually go away from the view of the web page. For example, see this custom select car, right? So if I select on this, so there are multiple options within it, and it actually cross the view of this web page. So again, like Selenium can't interact if it is not visible on the web page, right? Say for example, so you need to either scroll this like this and then make it into make that visible into the view, and then select the one of these options, right? Or what we can do is we can actually use the JavaScript executor to select this option directly. So say for example, I wanted to select some option here. For example, Toyota, which is not visible when I click here, right? But I wanted to select this option. So how do we do that? So let's see that now. I already have the code written here. So this is the common code which actually launches the browser, maximizes the window, and an implicit wait of 10 seconds. So this navigates to the particular URL, and this is the drop-down element. So we clicked on the drop-down. All right. So we get the options. So how do we do that now is, so if you see, what did we do? We actually get the option selected here, right? So option which we wanted to select, we have already selected it and capture that into a web element. Now we wanted to click on this option, right? So that is like if you click on this, so we have navigated to this, like we have located this element directly, right? Using the web element. But you can't use Selenium command here because that is not visible on the web page directly, right? So we definitely need to use the JavaScript executor again. So we use the JavaScript executor, execute script method, arguments dot click. We are using the click method. So click method is also available in JavaScript again. So we'll use that arguments of 0. So we're passing the actual option here, right? And then we just wanted to see what's the selected car, what's the selected option. We wanted to view it. So we have displayed that on the console. Let's see that now. I'll just close the earlier one. So if the drop-down has multiple options, and if it is, if the options are like crossing the web page context, right? So in that case, we have no option. Like we have two options. Like we can scroll down the page and select the option, or we can actually select the option and then get the web element of the option within the drop-down and select it using JavaScript executor. Yeah, seems like it is slow, very slow. Yeah, you can select, you can see the option has been selected, right? So you can even see the output, selected car Toyota, right? So this is how you can even select the elements which from the dropdown which are not visible within the web page context, right? And in this case, in this particular case, like if you actually inspect this element dropdown, so you can see the options. So you can see the options, right? So you can even see the select class here, which can be used, right? So how do we actually interact with the drop down is, so we can use the select drop down also, right? So we can use select class and we actually select the options, right? So even that can be used in this case, particularly if you have the select and select class option, right? So in that case, you don't need to actually use the JavaScript executor. So how do we do that? Let me show you. So in that case, we don't need this. We'll just comment this out and then without JavaScript executor. I'll explain you this. So what did we do here is driver.find elements. We are finding all the elements which are related to that particular select dropdown, right? So we get all the options here, which we are capturing it as a list of web elements, and we had an enhanced for loop here, which actually iterates through each option within the dropdown. And if the option is equals to the option which we wanted to select, then we'll click on that option, right? So option, we'll click on that option, right? So we have to have this web element as well. Okay, we don't need it because this from these options we are reading each option, right? So these options will actually get us all the options under the dropdown, and for each option within that options, so we are actually verifying if the text of it is equal to the one which we wanted to select. If it is so, then we'll select that. We'll click that option, and then we'll break and come out of this loop, right? So that's the code. So in this case, like without even using the JavaScript executor, we can select the option which is within the dropdown. So we can select the option without even using the JavaScript executor. If we are able to get the options right within the dropdown, then we can get them as a list of web elements, iterate it through the enhanced for loop, and then select that particular option which we wanted to select. Yeah, you can see here it navigates to the particular URL, gets all the web elements under the dropdown, and selects the option, one of the options which we wanted to choose. Seems that the driver is slow. Yeah, anyway, you can see here, right? So the option has been selected. You can see selected car Toyota, right? So in some cases, like whenever you are able to get the options under the dropdown, so you don't need to use the JavaScript executor. But in some cases where the options are like overlaid by other elements, or you can't use the, you can't actually get the use find elements to get all the options of the dropdown, right? So in that case, we can go with the JavaScript executor, right? So this is how you can actually handle the hidden elements in Selenium. So if you like the video, please like, subscribe and share it. Thanks for watching.